everybody, and welcome back to my channel for this Wednesday morning, afternoon, or even across the world we may be at. I hope those of you that are in the UK are keeping safe and keeping cool in this current heat wave we are currently having. It's currently over 31 degrees Celsius right now in my hometown, so I do have a fan on behind me. It's on the lowest setting, which is level 1. I tried to record this video earlier without the fan on and I was absolutely boiling, so I apologise if you can hear the fan noise, but I do need it on. So today I'm going to be talking about the article from the Spectator website and from a guy called Michael Simmons who wrote an article, but unfortunately the article is behind a paywall, so I've managed to get the audio version of it, so I'll link the audio version down below in the video description so you can listen to the audio and make your own opinions and decisions about it. So I want to talk about it as a autistic neurodivergent woman, so let's get into it. So this guy Michael Simmons on the Spectator says apparently more of us are disabled than ever before. Apparently the last statistic is 1 in 4 at the last count, but this is only a statistic. It has since been adopted by the UK government as fact. Then he goes on to say nearly 4 million people have been describing themselves or identifying as disabled within the last decade. Then he goes on to say, we are told it's because a genuinely worrying mental health surge diagnoses in ADHD and autism. The government has found the sickness welfare bill not fit for purpose. So let me just pause there for a second. The reason why we've got an increase in ADHD and autism diagnoses and an increase in mental health disorders is because there is better acceptance and awareness and identification out there now. There's a lot more people working within the mental health and neurodevelopmental services to diagnose and to assess and to help people to find answers to why they've always acted different, to why they've always been different. I don't think it's a worrying diagnosis surge. I think it's just the fact that people are finding out about themselves more. People are going online to research social media sites, YouTube, X, Instagram, and other social media platforms that are available, and they're using that to go, oh, this is why I do that, oh, okay, this is why I'm different, oh, this is why I've never fitted in, this is why I must be the way that I am, because they're finding an answer, they're finding provision, they're finding services, they're finding a name for what they haven't understood. And yes, I do agree with him that the UK government, the sickness welfare bill, is not fit for purpose. It isn't. Let's just say the UK sickness welfare bill is something that has gone out of control. It's something that needs to be tweaked and made better for everybody across the disability and mental health board. It needs to be focused more on patient-centered care, service user care, and the NHS needs a complete overhaul when it comes to the welfare bill, because not all sicknesses are getting the right support, or the conditions and mental health issues aren't getting the right support that they so shall need and should be getting. So I do agree with him that that isn't fit for purpose, and that everyone who is on the disability or mental health spectrum is different. But the thing that I do worry about that he says here is that the word disability has lost all its meaning. I think that can be mistwisted and misquoted, because the word disability is a spectrum for a reason. The word disabled or disability, or the two words disabled, means that you aren't allowed to do something, or that they're implying that you're damaged or broken, or that you're not able to function successfully, because therefore you are disabled. And I don't look at it as being disabled. I look at it as being differently abled, because I can still function, I can still talk, I can still function, I still can do things for myself that a lot of people with disabilities may not be able to do, and I understand that. But I don't think the word disability has lost its meaning. I think it's lost its place, because a lot of people are now obviously trying to say, oh, they're disabled with this, or they're disabled with that, or they're identifying a form of disability or a form of mental health condition that they have always had or not been believed about. And I think right now it's the increase in acceptance of themselves and understanding of themselves. I think the word disability does get mistwisted. It's like, oh, well, you're disabled, you can't do this, therefore you have a disability, you don't function properly, therefore you are disabled. And it's like, well, no, actually we're not. I think it's just, to each individual, the word disability is different. I think we need to be very careful when making assumptions about saying that it's lost its meaning. I don't think it has necessarily. Then he said that the adults are forced to accept the word disabled, and any support So basically, let me say, I don't think adults are forced to accept the word disabled. I think it's a choice. I don't think, like, if someone says to me, oh, well, Gemma, you're disabled. Yes, by government standards, I am disabled because that's what I get awarded for, but I don't classify myself as disabled. I'm someone that is differently abled. I'm someone that struggles with everyday functioning and someone that has a communication disorder, but I wouldn't say that I'm disabled. I'm neurodiversely different. I think the world different. I see the world different. I'm different from the everyday person. I think support services do lack. I think he is right on that, because I think we do lack support services. We do lack after support. So once you receive a diagnosis of either ADHD, autism, OCD, any form of neurodiverse condition, I think we have to be very careful with the lack of support. I think sometimes we don't often get enough support services, and I think it is based on money, sadly, and not enough staff working within that field. And then he goes on to say, back in the decades, the word labels, or if you identify as being disabled, you were judged. Yes, I kind of understand that, and there is to some degree still, we are still judged, we are still looked at like we're stupid, or we're babies, or we're childish, or we are a child when we're actually a full-grown, fully functioning adult. And I think being judged, and then he says about that society now is disability dependent, and that the diagnosis becomes the identity of the person. So let me break that down. To say that he sees society as being disability dependent, I don't think that's the case really. I think that a lot of GPs, yes, and maybe some parents are disability dependent. They want an answer to why their child, their young loved one, their older adult loved one is struggling, whether it's physically, mentally, intellectually, neurodevelopmentally struggling. And I think we have to be very, very careful when we throw out the labels. And then he says that the disability label is seen as being cool. No, I disagree with that on so many levels, because being disabled is not cool. Like, having the word autism spectrum disorder above my head, or autism spectrum condition above my head, isn't cool. I wouldn't say it's a cool thing, but I am proud of being autistic because it gives me a different way of functioning and a different way of feeling and thinking in the world. So to say that the disability label has become cool, I don't think so. Yes, on some social media sites it has become cool, and it has become the rage to be disabled or to be differently abled, and I think that's a shame, because again, it's social media bias. It's social media websites sometimes are trying to encourage people to identify as certain things, or they're saying, well, oh, if you fit this trait and this trait and this trait and this trait and this trait, then you may be disabled. You may have ADHD, OCD, autism, like bipolar disorder, or like anything that kind of that sticks with a name. And then he says that the diagnosis has become identity to the person. Well, yes and no, because each person identifies differently. Like, we have to be so careful again when giving the label, saying that we are becoming our disability. Autism is part of who I am. I am still Gemma. I still function independently from my autism. I'm still Gemma, the daughter, the auntie, the cousin, the friend, the daughter. Like, I still function independently of my autism. I don't become my autism. Yes, autism is part of my DNA and part of my person. Yes, it is. But I still do things to be successfully every day. I still do these YouTube videos. I still go out and visit my friends, my family. I still go out and watch theatre and music. I do things to successfully function so people don't see that I'm actually really trying to struggle. And then he says that the disability population has doubled within the last 10 years. Again, I think this is down to being in a situation where autism, ADHD, OCD, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety have been mortally increased, because people are yet again identifying with the traits and behaviours of these conditions. They're seeing why they're acting a bit low, or why they're struggling to make friends or socialising, or why they're struggling to even get up and do the basic routine every day, why they're struggling to eat or to sleep. It's the same thing. It's the fact that we all struggle with our own diagnosis. And he goes on to say the increase is within the neurodevelopmental conditions range, that autism diagnoses are up 640% and ADHD diagnoses are up 1,400%. Where the hell has these figures come from? Is this actually a legit figure, or has he just made up some kind of statistic himself, because I'm shocked that it's really that high. Like, I can't believe it's that high, but if it is, so be it. But that has actually shocked me as an autistic person. If autism diagnoses are up 640%, that means that there's obviously a bigger surge in diagnosis and support that people are searching for than ever before. I think now there's more online services to help people identify and to find out their own path and to find out why they're different and why they're struggling with their mental, whether it's anxiety, OCD, not sleeping, not eating, struggling with routine, struggling to go to work and functioning successfully. I think that has something to do with it as well. Then he goes on to say about the diagnostic fashion seems to be playing into this. The increase is not just on the doctors, but comes onto the parents. So let me break this down again. Yes, I can understand what he's saying here, because it's the increase with, again, about money. The GPs do get a bit of a financial incentive with regards to a diagnosis, but again, the doctors and GPs have to be very careful with doing the paperwork for an assessment for the diagnosis. Like the guy who assessed me and suggested that I was autistic actually could risk his job, because he thought I shouldn't really be doing this, but because I can see how mentally you are struggling, how physically and emotionally you are struggling, I will do the referral for you. And he filled in everything that I needed to know and helped me send that referral off, because I didn't know what was happening to me. So again, yes, I guess there is a financial incentive, but again, the parents sometimes may want something to be wrong with their child or adult, but I don't think it's necessarily that they want something wrong. They want answers, they want treatment, they want something that will help their loved one function and to get support and to get the right medications if it's a medication thing. I am not saying that medication is for everybody. I'm not saying medication works. I'm just saying if that's something that you want to consider, then go for it. But I personally don't recommend medication for many people. Then he says that also it's a benefits incentive, that private institutions want to find something wrong and charge people for it. So again, yes, some people do rely on the benefit state, like I do. I do get awarded some money, and basically it shouldn't be about that. But again, it's to find answers to help myself be financially independent, to support myself on an everyday functioning level, to help me live an easier, fulfilled, functioning life. And then he says that people must be described as merely different. Once patients receive their diagnosis, they refuse treatment or have bad consequences. Again, I don't think it's about patients refusing treatment. I really don't think it is. I think it's about the fact that everybody who gets diagnosed through the mental health pathway or the autism pathway or the neurodevelopmental services pathway can choose not to receive ongoing support, or they think once they've found out what they have, then they research it and research it and research it until they find the answers that they're looking for. Yes, there can be consequences of that with poor mental health, mental health episodes coming and stuff like that. And then he goes on to say, once the label has been gained, it changes their expectations. Yes and no. I think it depends on personal perception, personal image. Then he says that the labels do. Does labels matter? Absolutely, labels do absolutely matter. Absolutely do matter. For me, it's changed my life, my outlook on how I see things and do things. And then he says, the final question is, should we all shut up and start talking about our disabilities? My answer to this is absolutely not. Absolutely hell no. Because if we keep on talking about disability and having an open table discussion, helping people to understand why we're different, helping them to communicate with us, helping us to communicate with professionals, then disability should be talked about, and it should be talked about in a positive way rather than the negative way and just acting like it, we'll just slide it underneath the table, we'll just ignore it. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, yeah. And like I said, I've kind of covered everything that I want to say, but I want to talk about some things further on that I don't agree with. So, he says that it's about that there's an autism and ADHD increase worrying diagnosis. Like, I think we have to be really careful because it's something that I feel he hasn't really understood about it. And then, like he says about, he also said that often adults with disabilities are forced to accept things. I think it depends on support networks and stuff as well. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. I will link the audio version down below, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.